Oh, excuse me. I didn't know that thing was running. I was just getting into that dobro solo from Andy Hall of the infamous String Dusters. That's a song he wrote called No More to Leave You Behind off their debut album Fork in the Road. That came out in 2007, so that's 10 years old now. And this year they got nominated for a Grammy for Album of the Year for Laws of Gravity. So it's cool to see how much they've grown in the past 10 years. You know, that first album got a lot of recognition from the IBMA and folks like that, but it's nice to see that the wider world of music is finally catching on to realize that these are one of the best bands going in progressive bluegrass today. Now, things started off in this set with the best band that's been going in progressive bluegrass since 1993, and that's Leftover Salmon. Now, they've got this thing they do called polyphonetic Cajun jam slam grass thing, and it's pretty amazing. They've been doing it for a long time, but I actually decided to go with like the only bluegrass song off their super classic album Euphoria, Ain't Gonna Work Tomorrow. And that's another song that you hear a lot in jams and that sort of thing. I know Pappy from Cabinet plays it a lot, but I really wanted to put Drew Emmett's version. He's the mandolin player for Leftover Salmon, and I think he has a great voice for it, and it's cool to hear them doing an old time song like that. And then after that, I put another one of the jam grass bands that came out of the 90s and really revolutionized things in a way that brought people to festivals and people that liked fish and other sorts of things to this kind of music, and that's of course the Yonder Mountain String Band. And I picked You Left Me in a Hole off their first album Elevation because I really connect with the lyrics. I think it's a relatable song, and I think that's what's kind of great about them. I like Jeff Austin's tenor and the harmony part here. It's a great song, it's a classic song, and it deserves its place in this playlist. And somebody else who deserves their place in this playlist is Rhonda Vincent. You know, she came up in a family band and then broke out with her band The Rage. And then in this 2000 album, Back Home Again, covered the song Jolene. That's, you know, of course, the Dolly Parton classic, but I love the way her voice sounds on this bluegrassy version. You know, Dolly, of course, has a lot of connection to bluegrass, so much I almost included her on the list. And that's also a song that the current version of Yonder Mountain String Band tends to cover with Allie Crowell on the lead vocal. So I thought it was cool to compare Yonder and Rhonda Vincent in that kind of way, you know, a song that they both do, because there's still similarities between the far side traditional bands and then the far side progressive bands, and they can all really meet in the middle at, you know, festivals and places like Delfest. And a band I saw for the first time at Delfest is Blue Highway, a legendary 2000s era bluegrass band. Now, they were around in the 90s, but they really got on a roll in the 2000s. I really like Blue Highway because they made it a point to only record original music. They wanted to write their own songs and put their own unique stamp on bluegrass as opposed to covering the traditional songs like a lot of people do. And that's a really bold move, but it's gone to pay immense dividends for them. They win IBMA awards like it's going out of style. The band members have made very nice careers for themselves helping write other folks' songs as well. So it really pays off to be original, like Ralph Stanley was talking about back in the beginning of this playlist. Another band that really gets credit for originality is the Punch Brothers. Now, this song actually comes from How to Grow a Woman from the Ground. That's an album that's titled to Chris Thile, but really it's the first Punch Brothers album. Chris assembled the band for the purpose of creating this album, and it worked so well that it became the Punch Brothers that still exist, although in a briefly hiatused form to this day. Because you see, Chris Thile got the awesome opportunity to be the new host of a Prairie Home Companion. So he's out there right now with some of the members of the Punch Brothers exposing bluegrass and alternative American styles of music to all sorts of people. Now, I chose the song The Beekeeper as an example of Chris's original songwriting on this album. There's some awesome covers. There's a Jillian Welch tune on there, some old-timey songs. It's another whole album worth listening to if you have the time. But I felt The Beekeeper really was a great representation of what Chris and the Punch Brothers brought to this kind of music going forward. And a band that's constantly going forward today is the infamous String Dusters. And that's why I chose No More to Leave You Behind as the last song on this playlist. I love the dobro intro from Andy Hall. It makes it so epic. And then the solos from all the different members of the band. You might have heard the mandolin there from Jesse Cobb and the guitar from Critter Chris Eldridge. Now, Chris Eldridge is the son of Ben Eldridge from the Seldom Scene, and he was an original founding member of the Dusters, but then when Chris Thile formed the Punch Brothers, he asked him to join the band, but it was actually okay because the Dusters brought in Andy Falco, and Chris Eldridge was kind enough to actually take him under his wing and teach him all the songs he had written, the guitar parts and things like this, and it really provided for a fluid experience so that they could seamlessly transition into the new era of the infamous String Dusters. And I think now's a good time for us to seamlessly transition into the end of this playlist. I got a song from Green Sky Bluegrass coming up. It's nice and high energy to end on a great note. But right now, I really need to say thanks to you for listening to all these songs that I've picked, for listening to me talk about them. Hopefully you've learned something. If you have, make sure you comment and let me know. If you think I missed anybody, please comment and tell me, and I'll try to include them in a future playlist. Speaking of the future, the next episode is about the future of Bluegrass. So if you've got any up-and-coming bands you really think I should include, make sure you comment and tell me who they are and what songs I should pick. That should be coming out in a couple weeks. But right now, we've got Green Sky Bluegrass. It's off their album All Access, a live album from a recording in 2009. This is the song Better Off, and I hope you guys are all better off for loving bluegrass like I do. Thanks again for coming to Bill's Bluegrass Breakdowns, brief history of bluegrass, and right now I've just got 2 more words for you. Del yeah.